Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today, and let's jump right into it. Today's webinar is Selling More HVAC Online. So here's what you can expect to get out of this webinar today. So first, I'd like to give you our organization's perspective on aesthetics and design. So I'll actually take you through how we design today and our philosophy around that design, and speaking specifically about just making a website look good, right? So that I'll give you some perspective there on how our organization goes about doing that. Then we'll take a quick moment then to go over what's the appropriate benchmarking that you should do for your site so that it accomplishes the specific things that you want it to accomplish. And I'm assuming those things are getting more business. And that's what we're going to focus this webinar on. It's how do you actually either generate more sales leads online or actually sell product online. This is not going to touch on how do I perform more service as an example. That's for another webinar. It's a completely separate topic. We have something on that, but we'll do that at another time. This is specifically around creating sales leads and creating sales themselves. And then finally, how do you then take what you learned in 1 and 2 to create a true e-commerce experience with your own website? So let's start then with giving a little bit of background on how we go about making web pages or websites. And today it becomes really easy because we do all of the programming through content management systems. That's short form is CMS. That means you don't have to be a programmer to make websites today. If you are a programmer or you know something about HTML, it makes it a little faster and a little easier, but you don't really need it. And the 3 big content management systems out there today, I would say, are WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. And the reason being is that they're completely free. So that's probably why they're super popular. The other thing is that they all have big communities of developers who've created all kinds of themes for them. So and a theme is kind of an out-of-the-box website that you can then just customize for your own organization. To get these content management systems, all you need to do is just activate them with your hosting company, because wherever you have your domain hosted today, I'm going to assume it's probably where you registered the domain. So for us, as an example, LiveTake would have been registered with GoDaddy.ca, and GoDaddy has WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal, and we happen to be a WordPress company, so we activated WordPress, and presto, we got access to the entire content management system of WordPress, and that's how we created our site, and that's how we create sites for our clients. So it's pretty easy once you dive into it, and it's free. The next thing then is how do you make it look great? And we all make it look great, we as agencies, through stock images. That's what makes it look great. If you want your site to look great, don't give it to a web programming company to design. They don't make it look good. They just put up the code. What makes it look good are designers or graphic artists, right? They're the ones who make things look great. So if you want a great looking website, then you want to get a graphic designer or a graphic artist to mock up for you a good looking web. But a trick here is that you can use stock images. We use Shutterstock here, but there's also Getty Images, there's Corbis, there's Big Stock. These are just 4 of the big ones. But there are literally hundreds of thousands of stock photos and illustrations available on these sites. You register, you can either get a monthly membership, is what we have, or you can buy them as you use them, and they're really cheap, they're really affordable. You can browse for free, so browse hundreds of thousands of photos, like I said, illustrations as well. You can actually even browse music soundtracks as well, which you can get all royalty free. You pay one price, you get the piece that you were looking at or that you were interested in. So if you've ever seen ads for other companies and you see an image that's the same for one ad for one company and for another, that's because we're all getting our images from these stock image sites. So that's the key. If you want something to look really pretty, buy pictures from these sites, and then get yourself somebody who's got some mediocre at best Photoshop skills, who can then just doctor up the pictures a little bit to make them fit in the spaces that you want to make them fit in, or maybe put some effect on top, like blurring it out or whatever. But get them to do that, and that's how you make stuff look great. You don't make stuff look great by knowing how to program websites. That's not how it works. Artists make things look great. So that's the key to looking good. Once you've got your photo stocks, you know where to go to get that. Once you've got your content management system, you know how you're actually going to program the pages and the website. The next thing is you go and you look for themes. And themes are, like I said, those ready-made web page designs that you can then put in your own content and images to make a website. So, like I said, we're WordPress. So I just went quickly onto a WordPress theme site. A lot of these are free, by the way, but you can also pay for others. And again, there are thousands upon thousands of these. Go find a template that you think looks great. This is one of the first ones I came upon, but looks pretty good to me, right? Welcome to the recipes WordPress theme. So I said, okay, I'll use that. And then I just went into our content management system, WordPress, and I went and I swapped out the images, and boom, I made a fake HVAC site. That took me all of 15 minutes. So I just called it Company X, but whatever. Stock photos, went and got the manufacturer photos, dropped them in here, and boom, I got a website. That even this 15-minute job probably looks decent. And that's how easy it is to create these things. And I'll show you how we actually design, because we don't actually use these templates because we don't really need to. What we do is we actually mock up the page. So this is a mock-up page in PowerPoint or Keynote. Keynote is the Mac's version of PowerPoint. And the reason why we do that is it's really easy in, say, PowerPoint or Keynote to put together images, resize them, layer on boxes, and the background, of course, is the size of the screen, as an example. And we'll just put together the pages there. We'll mock those all up, and then we'll send that over to a client, and then we'll ask if they approve them, if they think it's good, and then we'll go and program it on the back end. And if you look at this piece right here, this is really just, if the black portion at the top is just a skinny long rectangle, then there's a big fat rectangle with a smaller rectangle dropped on top of it, and then underneath where you see cooling, heating, and service, those are 3 columns of just 3 different rectangles. And then I'll give you a look at our WordPress back end. So if you look at our back end, this is what it looks like. And you can see that the tool that we use gives us a whole bunch of rectangles and squares that we can stack on each other. And we just simply drop in the images and the content into those areas. And that's what makes the website. The whole point of me telling you all of this is that making something look good is easy. And as well, it shouldn't take up the bulk of your web spend, because it's not that hard to do. The challenge, however, is that traditionally when an HVAC contractor goes out there to get these websites made, they don't give enough direction to the actual developers around what purpose are you trying to achieve with the site. So you end up with these sites that just have everything kind of on the front page saying, here's all the stuff we do, and it doesn't really have a purpose to it. So what I want to get to is purposeful design, whereby we're creating a site, or we're at least instructing someone to create a site for us that is very purposeful in that it leads a customer down a sales path, and down the sales path that we're choosing. And that's what we're going to get into in the crux of this discussion today. So really, before you even design anything, the more important thing is that you want people to come to your site. And that's why getting ranked is actually much more important than how great your site looks, at least at the beginning. And this is where you should spend 80% of your money. Usually the opposite's true, though. 80% of the money gets spent in the architecting of the actual site, and then 20% on actually getting people to come to the site. So search engine optimization should be your initial focus. We do this as an organization, and we do it with our partner Search Engine People. They're really great. They're really affordable, and we manage that relationship for you. So if you're interested in that, we can do that for you. On top of that, I would then suggest that you spend some more of your money on paid search, which is Google AdWords, Bing Ads, and social media advertising. Because what you're paying for, you're actually paying to get traffic to come to your site. You've all seen these when say you're searching in Google. The top 3 are paid advertisements, and they pay for those rankings, and that's Google AdWords. And again, all of this is where you should really spend 80% of your money. if you're going to spend online, and only 20% on the design component. So this is a totally separate discussion, and I think what I'll do is next week, for next week's webinar, I'll do a session on a crash course for beginners on search engine optimization. So next week's webinar, I'll do on search engine optimization for beginners, and we'll go over this topic in more depth. We won't cover it here. Instead, we're going to take a starting point. Let's assume people got to your site. Okay, so they're at your site, and now you want them to move through the site to actually convert into either a lead or a sale. So you need to first, step back and look at it this way, and you want to create an experience that's familiar to the consumer. The reason you want to do this is that we all, as humans, have an affinity for the familiar, right? So if we're presented with doing something in a way that we're familiar, we're going to choose the way that we had done it in the past versus trying to learn something new. That's a difficult shift. I'm not saying people don't do it. It's just difficult to get someone to say, hey, here's how you do things today. I want you to do it this other way instead. That's hard for people to swallow, and they don't tend to do it. So behaviorally, we have an affinity for the familiar. So let's ask these questions. If you were in an uncomfortable situation, would you feel more comfortable if you clearly knew how to get out of that situation? I'm going to assume the answer is, yeah, I would feel a lot more comfortable if I was in a situation if I knew how to get out of it. So then let's say this. Is it fair to say that for the majority of your customers, a furnace or air conditioner replacement situation is an unfamiliar event? I'm going to assume the answer to that is yes as well, right? You don't replace these things for, say, 15 years. And for some people, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime event for them. So it's very infrequent. So it's a situation that you really wouldn't be familiar with. Now, would you say that your current website looks and feels like websites that you yourself use in your everyday life? So today, if you go to a news site, or if you're looking up some type of media, maybe a television show that you missed or you're interested in, or you're looking up sports scores, or you were shopping online, does your website look like any of those? Does it feel like any of those? Or is it completely unfamiliar? Well, if it is, then let's make it familiar, right? Because, as I said at the top here, we all have an affinity for the familiar. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your site operates in a familiar way, the way that people are used to searching sites today. So the biggest mistake that I've seen most contractors make comes down in the benchmarking component of it, and that's benchmarking against the wrong thing. So let me ask these questions about benchmarking for yourself. So A, do you benchmark against a competitor in the heating and cooling space that you admire? Or B, any website property that you think looks great? Or is it C, the opinions of friends or other employees in your organization? You just ask around and see if they like what you're doing. Or finally, you don't benchmark yourself against anything. Well, we found in our experience that most contractors do A, and they benchmark against the strongest and or the biggest competitor that's out there. And that's a big mistake, because then you end up looking like each other. And again, you're making this assumption that those larger organizations have somehow structured their sites in a way that is appealing to the consumer. The two aren't necessarily connected. So that's not a great way to benchmark. And I'm going to give you some examples here around this. So what I did was this. I didn't want to offend anybody on the call, so I went to look online in the States, because I haven't started broadcasting in the U.S. yet, and I tried to get a cross-reference across the U.S. And what I did was I just looked up, furnace and air conditioner sales installations in different cities across the U.S., and I picked the ones that ranked the highest in my Google search. So I went to Buffalo, and I found this. So O'Donnell Heating and Cooling, looks pretty good. Big call to action. Hey, call us. Really huge 24-hour service. So they're obviously talking more about service here, but I'm interested in buying something. That's why I came to the site. So I'm pretending I'm a consumer here. I don't need to service my furnace or air conditioner. It's broken, so I want to buy something. So this is calling out service, I guess, because they had to make a choice. But I went in deeper then into products, and I found furnace installation. So new furnace. So I clicked into that. And then I got this part. So looks like an essay on furnace installations. Okay. So that's how I would shop with O'Donnell on for a furnace, a new furnace, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm a buyer. Okay, so maybe that's just a Buffalo thing. So I went over to Florida, see what we could find there. Interesting. Okay, so South Florida air conditioning. Looks like that's a technician shirt there. So they have technicians. Good to know. They're telling me they've been in business for 40 years. Looks like they're giving me a coupon to entice me to do service with them. I see at the top they say free estimate. Okay, that's good. I am looking for an estimate. Some other stuff I really don't have the time to read at this point. So I click in further and I find out through products I want to find some new air conditioning because I'm in Florida. I'm hot. I want a new air conditioner. So go and this is what it clicks through to. Installation of new equipment. And again, it says since 1972. So that's actually 43 years. The reason I know that because I was born in 72. But the point is what they really are trying to do here is make themselves look trustworthy, and I think that's why they say they've been in business for so long and the 100% satisfaction guarantee. So that's where they've concentrated on is really, hey, you should trust us. So, okay. But this does kind of look a lot like how they're selling it in Buffalo, quite frankly. So let's check out Nebraska then, right in the middle of the breadbasket. So, Absolute Comfort comes up. Looks like I can get a seasonal tune-up. They got some videos on customer testimonials. So that's good. Again, really want me to trust them. I guess that's why they're telling me to. They have an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. 100% financing, no interest. Okay. I guess that's if I'm buying something, but at the same time, I can get a tune-up. But I want to buy something. So I click through and look for a furnace or air conditioner. And this is what I got. So they're obviously... they're Goodman dealer. Okay, so I see Goodman. That's where my eye goes first. And then I go down. For me, anyway, I go down to that bottom right. It says Smart Coil. So I guess they've decided that as a consumer, the thing I'd be most interested in is that they have an all-aluminum Smart Coil. I guess that's important. But this is how I'm supposed to purchase from them right now. So, okay. Let's move on to California. They've got to be creative. They're Californians, and look, wow. Okay, so that looks nice. This is Timo's. You got a technician grabbing the door of his vehicle with his tattooed arm. Nice touch. And again, quality guaranteed. So okay, so again, it's about the quality. Trust us. You should trust us. So I then click through to find out about their air conditioning offers, and I get this page of a whole bunch of stuff about kind of, in essence, everything that they do. But that's how they sell their cooling services today. So I think I made my point here. You can see that there's a lot of commonality between these sites, and it looks like these sites, they all benchmark themselves against each other and have all decided that this is how you should present a furnace and air conditioner sale online, that this is the experience as a consumer you should go through. It doesn't feel to me like they took it from the perspective of what a consumer would want to do or experience in an online situation when shopping for a new furnace or air conditioner. So to contrast this, I then looked up some sites that I actually have shopped at. So I've shopped at IKEA. Maybe many of you have shopped there too. So I went to their website. Wow, that's nice and clean. Looks really good. Now notice here, if you didn't know the IKEA brand, forget about IKEA for a second, just because of how clean and how well designed this is and that it looks really nice, and this is I guess this is a check mark for aesthetics, you would probably already trust these guys. You would start by trusting them just because it looks professional and it looks nice. They don't have to slap trust me all over this thing, right? They don't have to start the discussion with 100% guarantee and look, and we've been in business for so long. I'm not saying that stuff is bad. That stuff is good. And you need to do that if your site is not projecting that it's trustworthy just in its design. So you'll unfortunately need to do that. Also, though, I am saying that it's probably better positioned in another place, and that's when you're getting closer to them making it, to a consumer making the decision. That's where you start throwing in all of the trust badges, right? So you'll find that when you do online shopping, you start seeing the VeriSign or customer testimonials as you're moving through the shopping process and you're getting closer to buying. A lot of the assurance badges on e-commerce sites actually show up at the checkout, because they want you to trust us, push the button and buy something from us. So that's probably a better place to start moving your trust badges. So anyway, there's the starting. I want to shop for something, so I picked coffee tables. And look at that. When I go to coffee tables, I see a whole bunch of coffee tables, and I see their prices. And I've got a shopping cart link at the top right. So this looks familiar to me. That's how I shop online. That's what I expected it to look like. And guess what? It does. So let's check out then Amazon. I buy stuff from Amazon. I buy books. I also buy cell phone accessories there. So that's what I looked for. I went to their site, not as big a fan of their homepage. It's messy. And the reason being, I guess, is because they sell everything now and not just books. So they really want to let people know that they sell everything. So fair enough. But they have a big search bar at the top, and that's good. So I put in there, I said cell phone cases. And boom, I got a page with a bunch of cell phone cases, right? And this has the price, and it also has customer ratings. Right. So what they're using is, if you saw our last webinar, then they're using that psychological principle called social proof. So I see that a whole bunch of people say that this thing is good. It must be good. And I'm probably more apt to choose that. So they're doing that. And that's great. They also got, again, a shopping cart, the top right. Looks very familiar. Exactly how I was going to buy that coffee table at IKEA. I would buy my cell phone case the same way at Amazon, which is a completely different company. So let's take a look at Bell. I recently got Bell 5 TV. I don't know if that's a mistake or not. I'll find out soon enough. I digress. If I look at the site now, very clean, very good, looks good. So I clicked on through to 5 television. I see they have a shopping cart on this one as well, top right. So I clicked in through the television 5, and bam, I got 4 packages with a price. And this is a totally different service, right? They're going to have to, this isn't a product they're going to mail to me. They're going to come to my house and install that. But they showed me a price, and they're actually suggesting, hey, better is the most popular one. And that works pretty well. Your eye goes right to it. And their social proof is saying it's most popular. So saying a whole bunch of other people like this one, so you should like it too. And I think that works pretty well. But I actually did the math just to check this out, which is just funny. And that's that if I took the monthly cost divided by the channels, select, better, and best are all 29 cents a channel. Good's actually 26 cents a channel. So good is actually a better deal than your better bundle. But you're probably just assuming, though, and wouldn't do that math and say, well, I assume that that's better, just the way they package that up. But again, the point is very purposeful in that they want someone to buy the better package that probably makes them the most margin. And they've set this site up to funnel me into that. And that's clever. That's good. Finally, let's look at Ford, because I drive Ford, and I bought my Ford at this dealership. It's called Formula, and this is their homepage. Okay, looks really good. I'm interested in a Mustang. I always wanted to own a Mustang. I don't own a Mustang, but would have liked to. I clicked Mustang, and look at that. They show me a whole bunch of Mustangs with prices. The point on this one, what I really like about the car dealership one, is that I bet the car dealerships, when they were first deciding to go with this type of web design, I bet a lot of people at the car dealerships are saying what many of you might be saying right now on the other side of the web, and that is that statement that kills marketing, and that is, well, HVAC is different. Buying furnaces and air conditioners is different. Well, I bet the car people here also said that buying a car is different, that you're not going to stick a Mustang in an envelope and mail it to somebody, and that you have to come into the showroom to come and buy it. Yet, look at what their site looks like. And the reason for this is because the consumer trend right now is really convergence of how we do things. We as consumers are demanding that companies interact with us the way that we interact with the majority of the other things in our lives. So as an example, if you took online banking as an example, it wasn't that long ago you couldn't do it on your phone. And people were up in arms. Well, I don't care about the security parts of that. I want an app for that. I want to be able to do it on your phone. And now the banks all have apps for that. You can do it on your phone. Not because the banks want you to do that. It's because people demanded that, because they're demanding convergence of the way that they interact with other things today. So that's what you need to do, and that's really the point here. If you want to have good success online generating leads or selling things, then by God, make it look like the way people do things with other e-commerce sites. You need to make it look like this. So let's get right into that and figure out, how do we go about doing that? Well, step number 1, sites that are good at selling stuff, sell stuff. That's it. So if you look back to those other HVAC examples I gave you with those sites there, everything was on the front, right? Trust us. Here's how many years we were in service. We do service. We got a deal on service. You can buy stuff. You can get 100% financing. Here's all the accreditations we have in terms of Better Business Bureau. Here's some customer reviews. But trying to do everything on the front page instead of doing the one thing, and that is sell stuff. So if you go to these other e-commerce sites, they're focusing on that one thing, only selling things. So I've oversimplified it here, I know, but you get the point. What you need to do on your homepage is really set people down, have them make simple selections down what path they want to go. So if I'm into sales, that I just want a big thing there, it just says sales. If I want service, here's a big thing for service. And the reason being is that there's purposeful designing for each of these. The way I'm going to set up the sales site, which is going to be very much an e-commerce site, is absolutely not how I'm going to set up the service site. That's going to look completely different because it's a different customer perspective who's coming here to get service. So we want to design that differently. We'll do a separate webinar in the future on service and designing an effective service site. But today we're going to focus on the big blue sales button right now. So let's go and concentrate on sales and create a site that's bent to do that. So step number 2 then, if step number 1 is, okay, get them down a path so that I can focus my design on the goal of that path. So now it's sales. Step number 2 then is take inventory of common e-commerce features that you currently have. So let's look at what an e-commerce site has that you probably already have, which I know that you already have with your organization today. So product categories, right? So if I go to IKEA, it had the coffee tables, bedroom sets, all those categories. You've got those categories, and that you sell furnaces, air conditioners, boilers, etc. You get the gist. So you've got product categories. Within those product categories on an e-commerce site, then there are product options, all kinds of different products in those categories. You probably at a minimum at least have good, better, and best options for the particular furnace or air conditioner that you carry. You may have several different brands. Those would be product options in the categories as well. So the different brands of furnace or air conditioners that you carry. But at a minimum, you probably have different efficiency levels of the same brand, good, better, best. So you've got some product options within the categories. You already have that. Third then is you probably got featured specials, right? Just like they've got sales on at the e-commerce side of it. I'm going to assume that at least seasonally, you've got some seasonal promotions. So you probably got either dollars off or buy one, get one free or rebates, etc. So you've got those as well. Suggested add-ons, right? So often in those e-commerce sites, they'll say, hey, people who are looking at this also like this. That probably sounds familiar to you. Well, you've got that as well with, say, indoor air quality accessories or thermostat upgrades. You've got some suggested add-ons that you can put in your product categories. One of those add-ons might be the accompanying air conditioner if somebody was looking at a furnace, right? And then finally, assurance badges. And I touched upon this earlier. So in the e-commerce experience, you'll probably see something around the security of the information that you're going to put in. So something like VeriSign, but you'd also see some customer reviews. Well, I'm going to assume that you must have at least a TSSA license. So that's something. You might have some customer reviews, maybe on a site like HomeStars as an example, but Better Business Bureau as well. You may have a good rating there, but you probably have at a minimum some assurance badges. Maybe it's just saying that maybe that's your guarantees. That would be an assurance badge. So if you just took those 5 things, that's a lot of stuff already that looks a lot like an e-commerce site. And if you just simply took all of that information and then copied how an e-commerce site uses that information and structured your site that way, you'd probably already be 100 times better off than where you are today, at least as it relates to selling stuff online. So let's go to step 3 then, which is taking inventory of common e-commerce features that you don't have. So how do we amp up those 5 things with some more stuff that'll really make it feel familiar like an e-commerce experience, but you probably don't have that today? And that's prices for each of your products, right? So I know that we as an industry are very reluctant to put up the prices, and what I usually hear are the 2 reasons that I usually hear are that A, I can't give an accurate price if I don't go and measure it up first. So measure up the installation, or at least do a heat loss, heat gain calculation so I can figure out what size. That's very valid. I hear it. The next one that's very common that I hear is that, well, people will go to my site, they see my price, they don't even call me, they just take my price to my competitor and ask them to beat it. So I don't even get a phone call. That's valid too, but I've got some workarounds for you, and I'll reveal those in a minute. So the second thing you probably don't have are consumer reviews of the products you sell. Forget about reviews for your company. I get that. You probably have some of those, but you probably don't have customer reviews of the actual products, right? I mean, I've been to the manufacturer sites; they don't have it either. They can't tell you that customers give this furnace or this air conditioner 4 out of 5 stars, or the like. They just, you don't have that. So I got some workarounds for that as well. Next, a shopping cart that consumers can fill as they go. So on every one of those e-commerce sites, you had at the top right a shopping cart. All of them except the car dealership. But I got a workaround for that. Maybe the car dealerships will want to use. Maybe I'll call them after this webinar. Number 4, a purchase checkout, the moment of truth, right? You don't tend to have that either because you don't have the shopping cart. So you probably don't have the purchase checkout there either. So let's look at a clever little workaround for that as well. So that's what the next step is here. And that's that we want to solve for the deficiencies. So let's start then with the ability to put prices up for each product. So I believe you've got 2 options here. Again, I'm simplifying this stuff. You might have some better ideas around this, but the point is I just want you to get thinking this way. I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but at least get thinking this way and see if you can come up with some creative solutions to this as well. So a couple that I've come up with is option 1 would try using a manufactured suggested retail price. And then you put in underneath that price, you put in may sell for less based on in-home assessment as an example, right? So I put up a price that's probably a little more expensive than I would probably sell this thing for, and then say, hey, it could sell for less based on in-home assessment. And then you could have to, after that, you want to get them booking the in-home assessment, right? So now there's some curiosity to find out, oh, what's the better price? If that's the price you're showing me, there's a better one. I'd like to know about that. Maybe I'll book that appointment. So it might even work to help convince people to start booking something with you. So MSRP is a way you can do this. I can tell you companies like Avon and Mary Kay, who all sell through individual reps or salespeople, they do this, right? So what they do, if you go to their sites, you can actually buy the product online, but they tell you right there that you get a cheaper price if you go and contact a sales rep to work through instead. So they in essence are using a version of this solution. So that's option 1 to putting up a price. If you're still uncomfortable putting up actual numbers for the price, you can try option 2. And that's to not use any numerical values, but at least use some textual values there. So you might put something like our best value air conditioner, or which would mean this is the cheaper one. And then in the same product category, you might say this one's our top of the line model. So what that does is it allows people to at least infer price, right? So they can then compare and say, well, I know that this is more expensive than this, but at least they've got a feel for what these things might be worth. And then maybe they'll apply their own value to that in terms of a numerical value. So this is I still don't think it's as good as the MSRP, but it's another option where you don't have to put up dollars, but at least tell people which ones are cheaper and more expensive. And you can do it in words. And here's just a couple of sentences I threw up as an example. So that's how you solve for the prices of products. The next deficiency that we called out was consumer reviews of the products that you sell. Again, there's a couple of options here. The first option, which seemed pretty obvious, is actually call customers who bought it from you and get them to not review your company, but review the product for you. You want to put together just a short questionnaire and ask them, can you rate this product on a star scale of 1 to 5 as an example, and then ask them if they have a little testimonial that you could use and post on the site. But that's option 1. You'd call customers and actually try to get some product reviews. Now that might be a little arduous, and you won't, and also might take a while to do. So what you can do right out of the gate, though, is option 2, and give the equipment staff reviews or recommendations or a staff pick, right? So put a big check mark on one of them and say, you know, this is, you know, Gary the technician's pick of the month, whatever. It's a lot like if you've ever shopped at Chapters, they've got the Heather's pick, I think it is, where, you know, this Heather who's read the book says, I really like this book. This is on her pick list. So you can do the same type of thing, is have your staff then create their own ratings for the equipment that you've got. And now what you've done is you've created those, in essence, those consumer reviews for people. The next deficiency, a shopping cart that consumers can fill as they go. So this is a clever one. What you want to do here is replace the shopping cart with a quoting cart or an estimate cart. And under each product offer, have a button that says add to quote list or add to the estimate list. So what they're doing then is they're not putting products in there per se that they're going to buy. They're saying, I'm interested in getting a quote on this particular product and this product and that product, and they get this shopping experience, right, where they're adding things to a cart. The only difference is the cart here is to actually get estimates on that when the person comes to your home to do the sales presentation. But this makes it feel like I'm shopping, right? What it also does, it has an ancillary benefit for your salesperson, because now your salesperson actually has some information that they can do a little bit of homework on. And isn't it easy and great to get into a meaningful or relevant conversation with a customer if you open it up by getting into the submissions that customer themselves had made, right? That's an easy way to get into a conversation. And if you've got salespeople right now who are having difficulty connecting with customers or getting into those conversations, this is a way that they can actually work through that in a prescribed manner. The final one then to solve for was a purchase checkout. This is really easy. This is book an appointment. So instead of a checkout button, it's a book an appointment button. So today you probably have those buttons on get a quote, get a whatever. I'm saying here is place it as part of the checkout of the cart component of it, because what you're doing here, and again, if you had watched our last webinar, this is that whole idea of getting these small commitments, which then increase your probability of getting the bigger commitment. So instead, today we ask people to go from 0 to full on. And what I mean by that is we'll start with, hey, are you looking to buy something? Sorry. Well, then why don't you book an appointment right now and have some stranger come to your house? That's a big leap from I'm looking to come invite a stranger into your house. What we're doing through this process, still the same amount of time, but instead we put them through a shopping experience. They make some selections. That's a commitment. They add those selections to their quote cart. That's another smaller commitment that's laddering up. And then finally, we ask them to check out to book the appointment. That's a smoother way of doing it, and it's not like just diving into the deep end, right? Instead, this is like walking from the shallow end into the deep end. So you probably better way of getting conversions of people actually booking the appointment with you. And then that takes care of those 4 deficiencies. So now you take all of that, and I think that puts 9 points together that look just like an e-commerce site now. Structure that and put that together, whether it's going to do it internally or whether you're going to get an organization like ours to develop that for you to make the actual website, so that now when you go pay for that development or you pay to have the site created, it's got real purpose and real business building purpose. Right? And that's how you're going to instruct people to now create your site versus just make the site look good, which doesn't turn into sales. The same then, when we go over the webinar around creating an effective service site, you would want to take what you learned from that and then go to your developers and say, okay, now develop the service side of my site in this manner. So again, it has purpose in that it's trying to get people to actually do service with you. And that's it. That's how you create, at least how we think you can create a really effective e-commerce solution for HVAC, which should turn into more sales, or at least more sales appointments booked online. So I hope that helped. I hope you can use it. And again, you can always contact us. So I'll end the way I always do here, and that's telling us a little bit about us. That handsome devil there is me, Chris Corey. And we at LiveTake here, we are specialized in the HVAC space. We don't do anything else. All we do is marketing for the HVAC sector. Because of our backgrounds, we've got a strong HVAC support relationships. Previous to doing this, I worked for a very large contractor for 9 years and made some really good relationships there. So we know all of the senior people at all of the major manufacturers. Also, we met a lot of specialized marketing agencies who have experience creating solutions for HVAC companies. So we have all of those support relationships at our fingertips, and we leverage those in an HVAC support network to help out companies like yours. We are HRAI members, and the reason why we joined is that we wanted to access contractors like yourselves, and we wanted to be accessible. And we thought the best way to do that was to be members of HRAI. So we are part of your association. And we're dedicated to helping contractors, and that means that our purpose is making marketing easy. So what we've done is we've actually packaged up a lot of our products, and we put a list price on them. So just like this webinar was saying, you buy them like you would buy other things, right? It's like buying a product. It has a list price. You know what you're going to get for it, and you know what comes out of it. We have a catalog that we've created around that. If you go to our website and look at our services, you'll see there's a download for the catalog if you're interested in the catalog of products. And we are willing to work as a true partner. So if you look at those products and it's really not fitting the bill for you, still not what your budget was really looking for or what you were trying to solve for, then please contact us. We are also an end-to-end marketing agency. So we can help and we can work with anybody's budget, and we can work to create a customized solution for yourselves. And finally, we're a source of free support materials. Hopefully that's evidenced by these free webinars. We have no problems showing you how you can do all of this stuff yourselves. This stuff is not rocket science. We don't fancy ourselves geniuses, and we don't mind that you know how to do it yourselves. That's not the point. The point is you're busy people and you're probably doing a lot of other things. So we would hope that if you're not going to do it yourself, that you at least give us a try. So that's it. Next week, like I said earlier, we will do the webinar on beginner's course on search engine optimization, and I hope to see all of you there. In about an hour after I close off this broadcast, you'll receive an email with a link to the recorded version of it. Feel free to share that if you'd like. So again, thank you very much. This ends the broadcast, and I hope to see you next week.